Today on Judiciary Watch, Nnamdi Kanu files $800 million suit against the federal government. Nigerian police force arraigns Mariam Sanda. Tambuwal remains governor, says appellate court. It's a pleasure having you with us on today's episode of Judiciary Watch. I am Augusta Yaku. Today's episode centers on the legal implication of modern-day slavery.
You're trafficked, you're sold to some other persons who can in turn sell you to some other persons, and then they continue to sell like that. For the males, they subject them to labor, inhuman treatment, and of course the female, they introduce them to slave trade and all of that.
We will be right back. Please don't go away.
Keep watching Judiciary Watch for deep knowledge of the law,
issues bordering on our collective and individual fundamental rights,
for knowing the correct perspective of the law,
issues of governance.
You just watch Judiciary Watch,
because there's no program that is like this.
A panel of 3 ECOWAS Court justices, headed by Justice Hameye Mahalmadin, has adjourned the hearing of the $800 million suit filed by the leader of the acclaimed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, against the federal government. The adjournment came as a result of the plea by Kanu's lawyers, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, who claimed that the federal government filed a new process without giving him sufficient notice.
Apart from asking for a new date, counsel to Kanu Ifeanyi Ejiofor also asked for a 10 million naira delay cost against the federal government. But in a vehement opposition, counsel to the federal government Maimuna Shiru told the court that the new process they filed was in response to the refusal of Nnamdi Kanu to respect the bail conditions given to him by the Federal High Court, and that Ejiofor, his lawyer, is aware. The court adjourned to the 7th of February 2018 without mentioning whether the 10 million naira delay cost will be paid to Ejiofor. Emmanuel Bagudu, PTV News.
Justice Yusuf Halilu of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory on Friday remanded Mariam Sanda, the daughter-in-law of ex-PDP chairman Bello Haliru, in prison custody. Mariam was on Friday arraigned by the police before a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Jabi. Abuja, on charges of culpable homicide for allegedly stabbing her husband, Biliamin Bello, to death on November 19th. She was accused of culpable homicide, punishable by death under Section 221 of the Penal Code Law. The incident was said to have taken place at about 3:50 a.m. on November 19, 2017, at the residence at 4 Pakali Close, Wuse Zone 2, Abuja. After the nursing mother pleaded not guilty to the 2 counts read to her on Friday, Justice Yusuf Halilu remanded her in Suleja Prison, Niger State. The trial continues on December 7, 2017. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has on Thursday upheld the June 23, 2017 judgment that affirmed Aminu Tambuwal as authentic governor of Sokoto State. In a judgment delivered by Appeal Court Judge Emmanuel Agim, the court dismissed the application of Senator Umar Dahiru, which challenged the legality of the December 4, 2014 APC primary elections that produced the former Speaker of the House of Representatives as the party governorship flag bearer.
According to Justice Agim, Section 131 to Section 33 of the Evidence Act stated that the primary body responsible for conducting elections and monitoring party primaries, that is INEC, is to prove whether the APC primaries that produced Tambuwal as governorship candidate did not follow due process. This makes the submission of the appellant incomplete and inconsistent. He therefore struck out the application for lacking merit.
We appreciate the erudition displayed in the judgment, even though we do not agree with them, and we take time and study the judgments and take the necessary step. You can't rule it out because it's not a final court as far as these issues, are concerned.
For his part, counsel to Tambuwal, Sunday Ibrahim, was satisfied with the judgment. He appealed to both Tambuwal and Dahiru to resolve their differences.
This judgment has also confirmed that the case the appellant made at the lower court is different from what they have brought before the Court of Appeal, and further confirmed that the case of the appellant was totally lacking in merit and was just a mere an empty sojourn to the Court of Appeal. All the issues that were raised by the appellant were decided against the appellant. But an appellant whom in his case had also said that the seat be given to another political party, it beats my imagination if truly he's still a member of the APC. But that is the internal matter for them to decide.
The last is yet to be heard, since Dahiru still has another chance at the apex court. Emmanuel Bagudu, PTV News.
It is time for a short break. Please stay tuned for our discuss segment.
Keep watching Judiciary Watch for deep knowledge of the law,
Issues bordering on our collective and individual fundamental rights.
for knowing the correct perspective of the law.
Issues of governance.
You just watch Judiciary Watch.
Because there's no program that is like this.
Presently in Nigeria, There has been reports of alleged sales of persons in Libya into slavery. This has attracted the attention of stakeholders in the nation's justice system. Our focus today is on the modern-day slavery. This will come to you after the background report.
Modern slavery, also referred to as contemporary slavery, refers to the institutions of slavery that continue to exist in present day. Estimates of the number of slaves today range from 21 to 46 million. Here in Africa, there is a recent prevalence of modern-day slavery, where some Africans are reportedly sold to slavery while trying to cross the border between Libya and Italy. This has triggered both national and international concern.
Keep watching Judiciary World for deep knowledge of the law,
issues bordering on our collective and individual fundamental rights,
for knowing the correct perspective of the law.
issues of governance,
You just watch Judiciary Watch.
because it's no program that is like this.
Yes, you cannot discuss the subject without first looking at what slavery itself is all about. You know, slavery is a condition where some other persons are subjected to, you know, they control by some other individuals. They control where you live, and of course they control even where you work. At that time you find yourself on some level of constraint. You cannot do any other thing on your own except they instruct or authorize you to do so, and then at that level you find yourself in some level of slavery and enslavement. Yeah, modern day slavery, you see, the slavery today has moved a bit, you know, from the conventional slavery, you know, that we all know about. But today, you're looking at the case of Libya as a case study. You know, people come in there believing that they are going for greener pastures, and then by the end of the day you're trafficked, you're sold to some other persons who can in turn sell you to some other persons, and then they continue to sell like that. For the males, they subject them to labor, inhuman treatment, and of course the female, they introduce them to, you know, slave trade and all of that. So modern day slavery is actually common in the African society. You know, it's very it's common among the African nations, but Libya today has distinguished itself because of the way it carries out its own. You know, Libya's slavery today is in the public domain because they do it in the open. These people are traded openly. You know, in their open market, you see people buying people, and everybody knows even how much these people are sold for. You know, for the males, they go for about $400, and then for the females, slightly above that. So it's within the public domain, and that is why you see that today the case of Libya, you know, has attracted so much attention. Otherwise, the conventional African society has some level of slavery or the other, one level of slavery or the other. You see, I want to, just like I made reference to Libya, Libya is one country that I feel is still lawless. They have no respect for rule of law. If they have regards for rule of law, like a country like Nigeria, they won't find themselves in that situation. The Nigerian government has ensured that there are statutory provisions in addressing issues like this. This is section 34 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, particularly subsection paragraph B of that section clearly prohibits slavery in its entirety, and that no man should be subjected to inhuman treatment, no man should be sold for whatever reason. You know, so by the time you have statutory provisions like this, it's equally backed up by other statutes. The Labour Act, it clearly mentioned that nobody should do all of that. Section 73 of the Labour Act is clear on that too. You know that you do not subject somebody to a treatment that ordinarily you will not appreciate if you are in a circumstance. And then the other statute too that the Nigerian government has domesticated. You know, the Child Rights Act Section 28 and particularly 28 and 30 of the Child Rights Act, particularly make reference to what the country should uphold. They try as much as possible to abuse and discourage slavery in its entirety. But Libya has not done this, and that is why you see that we find ourselves in this mess. So for Libya to come out of this, they must ensure that they have statutory provisions that will in its entirety abhor this sense of slavery, this sense of modern slavery. Let there be a law, and of course sanctions, corresponding sanctions, so that when you are caught doing this kind of things, if you are caught trafficking persons, immediately the law will catch up with you. And when you have these stringent laws in place and you are ready to back it up with sanctions, and of course to punish people when necessary, you see that most of these things will not be seen and they will naturally disappear. Yes, in addressing Libya, you see, the situation in Libya, the worst part of it is the fact that most of these persons who are trafficking Nigerians and people from other countries out there in Libya, some of them are even indigenous of those same countries. In fact, some of these returnees back here in Abuja have said that the people who even sold them into this slavery are their brothers and sisters from Nigeria. Let these people have a sense of nationalism. Let these people respect the fact that these people they are selling out are their brothers. Let's start from there. And then the AU too, the African Union, has a role to play. Let them come out with stringent rules, laws that will forestall all of this, so that any country, any member country that is found wanting will be able to face the wrath. But by the time the AU, African Union, is unable to address this issue holistically, nation countries, member countries can do whatever they like, believing that nothing will happen. But most importantly, the welfare of citizenry matters. These countries within the Africa, geopolitical Africa zone should ensure that their citizens are taken care of. If you see the massive exodus we witness from the West African countries, people who go to Italy, people who are on their way to Italy, and then they have a stopover in Libya and the rest, they all go out for greener pasture. If you find where you find yourself, there won't be need for you to go for something better elsewhere. So let there be food on people's table. Let the people have food on their tables, and then let there be stringent rules too, like I said, to ensure that these people who migrate for whatever reasons do not even have reason to go out. And then let the African Union too ensure that they have punishment and sanctions for these countries that support modern day slavery in any form. Thank you.
Keep watching Judiciary Watch for deep knowledge of the law,
issues bordering on our collective and individual fundamental rights,
for knowing the correct perspective of the law.
issues of governance,
You just watch Judiciary Watch.
because there's no program that is like this.
is where we call it a day on Judiciary Watch. Our social media platforms are there for you. Please contribute and comment on the program. Goodbye.